Hi guys, for today's video we are going to be doing another ranking video. I'm so excited. I love doing these. They are so fun to do. So we are going to be ranking my last 11 or really 10. I'm probably putting 10 in the title because to be fair, the 11th one that I have is this quad from Nomad, and I know that you guys know that I have this, but I don't feel like it's fair to this quad to be included in this ranking because it's not a standalone palette and I don't really feel like it's fair to call it a palette for that reason. But I do have 10 other palettes here because I am a palette addict, as I'm sure you know. I love reviewing palettes, and so I'm going to be ranking all of these from the worst to the best, or at least what is, in my opinion, the most inspiring, or there's a lot of things that go into my rankings, but we'll get into this after I've talked about the sponsor of today's video. So today's video is sponsored by Formulate. If you are unfamiliar with what Formulate is, basically it's a customized like shampoo and conditioner service. It's really cool. I've had the best luck with this. I've been working with them now for like 2 months because I wanted to make sure that I liked the products before I agreed to do a sponsored video. So I've gone through like my whole full customized shampoo and conditioner, and I just want to tell you that it works great for me, and I feel like it's something that a lot of people are going to like. So basically what you do is you go on their website and you take a quiz pertaining to like your hair and what it is that you are wanting to get out of your hair products, and then once you finish your quiz, you will then get assigned your personal chemist that you can then talk to one-on-one to figure out like exactly what it is and what you don't want to have in your products. If there are certain things that you want to leave out, maybe you want to put in because it's something that your hair needs, you can do that. It's very personalized, which I think is so cool because obviously everybody has different needs for their hair. Like personally for me, my hair is so dry because I've bleached it so many times, and I also use very fun colored hair, as I'm sure you can tell, but that is a pain in the ass to maintain. And one of the reasons why I'm able to maintain my hair so well is because I use products that are meant for keeping the color in my hair, and the shampoo that I use is very gentle on my hair because that is what my hair needs. Like I said, of course everyone's hair is so different, and that is what is great about this, is that you can customize this exactly how you want it to be yourself. They were also so sweet that they offered me to be able to do a giveaway with these, so one person will win their own 8-ounce set full of their own personalized shampoo and conditioner. So there will be a link down below in my description box if you would like to be part of that giveaway. There is also a link if you want to just sign up and like try the service yourself. I would highly recommend it. I really stand behind it, and I think that their products are great, and that will give you $5 off your first order. So thank you Formulate for sponsoring this part of the video. Now let's get into the ranking, which I'm sure you've all been waiting for. Okay, so I feel like the rankings for this batch of palettes was quite hard, one of the hardest ones that I've probably had to do so far. And the palette in the last spot really hurts me to say because I like this palette. I quite like all of these palettes, and I do have to just give a disclaimer like I always do in these videos that my rankings are not purely based on the performance of the palettes. There's a lot of things that go into my thought process when I do rank these palettes, and one of them is how often would I really find myself reaching for this color story, and like how inspired does this palette make me. Like that has a lot to do with whether or not I want to reach for a palette again. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because I maybe didn't like the palette that much that it's a palette that I'm never going to use again. So in my 10th spot is unfortunately the Freya palette by Ulta Cosmetics. Simply just because of this color story. There's really only so many things you can do with this, let's be real. You know, the colors individually are beautiful, it performs really well, it's such a cute palette. It's just, I'm not one of those people who want to do the same look more than once, to be fair. Like, I don't even think I've ever repeated a look, so for me to have this palette as a standalone palette, it's not something that I'm going to reach for. So for that reason alone, it just ended up on the bottom of my list. But I still think that the quality is amazing. It's such a great brand that I feel bad like ranking it on the bottom because it's not a bad palette. It's just a color story that doesn't inspire me. In the number 9 spot, this is probably not going to come as a surprise to anybody if you watch my videos on this palette, but this is the Stupid Love palette by Lady Gaga. I struggled with this palette, you guys. The mattes are okay, but the shimmers in this is just, it's not it. Like, I had so many hard pans in this already that it really makes me not want to use this again. And I also just didn't feel like it was anything special. It's fine. It's not worth the money, but it's fine. It's just, I don't know. I like the color story though. I don't have anything against like a half neutral and a half blue palette. I kind of think that's quite fun, to be honest, because those colors do go very nicely together. And also the blue mattes in here are beautiful. And I like the combination between the blues and like the silvery shades and the pinks. I think those go nice together as well. But I don't know, the formula on this just did not really impress me, and so that's just why that palette ended up so low down on my list. And like I said, it's not worth the money. In my number 8 spot, we have another one of the Ulta palettes, and like I said before, this has nothing to do with the quality of the palette, it's simply because of the color story. So this is the Elva eyeshadow palette. This is what this one looks like. Again, the quality of this is just, it's so good. I love the shimmers in this. The mattes perform so well. If you want to see the videos I did with these palettes, I will link my 3-look video up there. I had such a good time playing with all of these palettes, but the color story in this is just not really me. But I could see myself traveling with like one of these palettes if I was going somewhere, if I wanted to have some easier and more subtle options that were still like sort of colorful but a little bit more toned down. Like I could totally see myself bringing this traveling because it is that kind of palette that would work very nicely along with something else as well, and the shimmers in this is so pretty. In my number 7 spot is a palette that I really wanted to love more than I did, and that is the Elf and J Kissa collab. This is the To The Rescue palette. Oh, I love this rainbow palette. I love this color story so much, but I quite struggle with the mattes in this, and when I struggle with mattes in a palette, that is way more of a bigger deal than me struggling with the shimmers. Like, I can excuse a shimmer that's kind of so-so as long as the mattes are amazing, because like I've said before, like, the mattes are what is showing when my eyes are open because I have such hooded eyes, so if the mattes aren't looking good, the whole look is just going to fall apart. Like, I can deal with a shimmer that's maybe not as metallic as I would like it to, but when the mattes are patchy and the mattes aren't blending and when the mattes are fading away, I just can't with that. So even if this is a beautiful color story, I just don't really see myself ever reaching for this again, because if I can't rely on the mattes, I'm just not going to be using the palette. Now, next up, I feel like this really proves my point, because the next palette, the mattes are really nice, but the shimmers are so-so. This is the 50/50 Makeup Summer palette. So here's what this cute little palette looks like. This is such a beautiful color story. I really like this, but the only thing that kind of bothers me a little bit is that this whole row of shimmers, I don't like any of them. I love the colors, but they're just kind of like satiny and dry and bland, whereas this shimmer down here is amazing and metallic, and it's like, if you can make shimmers like that, why would you make shimmers like this? I don't know. Personally, I just don't understand those kind of shimmer formulas. I know people love them. I'm not one of them. I just don't get it. You know, I just feel like if you're the kind of person if you're the kind of person who is very into bright and colorful eye looks, and you have all of these bright and colorful mattes, why would you want a lackluster shimmer? Like, to me, that just doesn't really make sense. Like, I could see if a palette had more neutral mattes and then have like these colorful satiny shimmers, like that makes so much more sense. But when the mattes are so vibrant and so in your face, don't you think that those people would want to have like shimmers that are kind of the same? I don't know. Let me know. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that is just kind of like how I feel. And obviously we all have different opinions about makeup, and I'm sure a lot of people disagree with me, and that's totally fine. Let's see, let's move on. So we are on number 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. Number 5. Is this really number 5? It is number 5. The number 5 palette on my list is the Sample Beauty Prodigy palette. The color story in this is so inspiring to me, and that is why this palette ended up so high up on the list. The shimmers in this one, and this one, holy crap, are they amazing. They are the most wet looking and metallic and also kind of glittery, but like semi-sheer at this. It's such an incredible formula that for that reason alone, this palette ended up so high up on my list. The mattes are a little bit tricky to work with. Not all of them are bad, but they are quite sheer, but they are buildable, like somewhat buildable. Like, they're not the most buildable in the universe, but I feel like if you don't go in and you blend a lot and you don't really care if you use only 1 or 2 colors in your crease, you're gonna be totally fine with this palette. And it's also very affordable. It is on the larger side, which I don't love, but for this color story, I think it is so beautiful, and the shimmers are so nice. And I don't know, I like this palette even though I gave it kind of a meh review, but it's just because I really enjoy the color story and I really like the shimmers in it. Let's move on to number 4. I feel like I can finally justify having an Udenside palette a little bit higher up on my list. So this is the favorite palette that I have from them. This is the Solmona palette, and I'm sure you can tell why this ended up higher up on my list, just because it's a little bit more colorful, you know? It's a little bit more me. Like the mattes in this are more colorful, and that's why I like it. I love this pop of this lavender. It is such a beautiful color. These mattes perform so well. This shimmer that I used in my look on my lid, ooh, I love that so much. I love this brand. I can't help it. I really hope they come out with something more colorful in the future, because it's going to end up being one of my favorite palettes if they do. I already know it because their formula is so good. I want a little bit more color, a little bit more, just a little bit more. And I also want some shimmers that are not neutrals. But I can mess with a neutral shimmer, like you guys know. I'm totally okay with a neutral shimmer. It's just I need my colorful mattes and I want more of them. So speaking of colorful mattes, this next palette that ended up being my number 3 spot has a lot of colorful mattes. And this is the new Lethal Cosmetics palette. This is the After Dark palette. I know I also gave this one kind of like a not a whatever review, but like I felt like the mattes weren't the absolute best. I had some issues with them fading on me during the day, which really never happens to me with most formulas, so I was kind of thrown off by that, and it is a little bit off-putting when that happens, but the shimmers in this are so good. They're so good. I love them. And I also love the color story in this. This palette inspires me. I love the packaging. I can get really nice looks out of this if I just keep it kind of simple, and I don't mind that at all. To be fair, I'm probably going to depot this and put like all of these shadows in with my other Lethal shadows, because that way it's just easier for me to like have everything from one brand, especially when these are magnetic. I'm probably going to depot this, like I said, and I think when I do that and I use these shadows along with like the other Lethal mattes that I like more, I think I'm going to like these shadows more just as a general. So I do think that this palette deserves a spot in the 3rd place. So yeah, I like this palette. I know a lot of you picked this up. I would love to hear your thoughts when you played a little bit more with this. I'm not sure when this video is going up, but if you've had a chance to play with yours, let me know how you feel about it. Now in my 2nd spot, this is probably not going to come as a surprise to anybody, but this is the new Kaleidos palette. I love this palette so much. I honestly even love the packaging. I know a lot of people, myself included, when I first got this was like, it's kind of bulky, I don't know if I like it, but I've come around to it, and honestly, it's just such a pretty palette. And the shimmers in this are out of this world. The mattes perform really well. The only one that I had a little bit of issues with was this blue, but it's not so bad that I can't use it. Like, I'm totally fine with using it still. I just need to kind of leave it alone to do its own thing and just like not blend it too much. But I love this palette. I love it. And I also feel like it's sturdy enough that I can bring this with me somewhere. And I could even just like chuck it in my purse, you know, like if I was traveling. I really need to stop like talking about things as in if I was traveling, because traveling is just not going to happen anytime soon, at least not for me. Like, I don't feel safe traveling, even if it's technically allowed. Like, it's gonna be a while for me to go on an airplane, you know, even if it's just like visiting family. But technically I feel like I could really like chuck this in my purse or in my backpack if I was going somewhere and feel totally fine with this like not breaking, even in my suitcase. But like, it's small enough that it's the size of a book pretty much, so like you would bring a book in your backpack. So I'm rambling. Anyway, I love this palette. There's nothing I don't like about this. There's also nothing I don't like about this palette that ended up in my number 1 spot, and I don't think that any of you are going to be surprised by this if you have been watching my channel lately, but this is the Musate Beauty Impressionism palette. Oh, I love this. This is my little baby. It kind of blends in with my background. I'm gonna open it so you can see what it looks like if you haven't already seen this palette, but isn't that so beautiful? I can just look at this and come up with so many different looks that I can do. I feel like the combination between the mattes and the shimmers in this, not only is the ratio perfect in my opinion, but also the fact that there are so many like shimmers that go along with the mattes that are the same color, meaning that you can make like monochromatic looks. That to me makes the palette so easy to work with and just like a no-brainer. Like, I could pull out a colorful look with this palette so quickly. And like, that is one of the things that they said on their site too. They said that you can make a look with this in less time than it take you to brew a cup of coffee, which, I mean, it's not true, but I get the idea behind that and I completely agree. And like I said before, the brand was so kind to give me an affiliate code if you wanted to pick up this palette. I will have that up on the screen. I do earn a small commission if you do use it, but I'm so blown away by this palette, and trust me, I'm not ranking this so high because of, you know, my code or whatever. Like, I would never do that, but I'm just so blown away by this, and I'm so impressed by this brand as a whole. I cannot wait to see what they come out with in the future. I want to play with this palette every single day, and I can't, and that makes me really sad because I have other things that I need to film with, but this is like my little baby. I wouldn't be surprised if this ended up being the palette of the year for me, and that says a lot. And even though, like I said in my video, these shimmers are not like anything spectacular, they're not like that mind-blowing shimmer formula that when you put it on your lid you go, wow, do you know what I mean? Like, but they're just very, very nice and solid shimmers. And also just, oh, the rest of the quality of this palette is just amazing. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, I love this palette so much. Let me know if you were surprised by any of my rankings, because I don't think any of you would be that surprised, really. If you know me well, like, I think that you would agree with a lot of these things. That's gonna be it for my ranking my palettes. Again, thank you so much to Formulate for sponsoring this video. Go ahead and check them out. Like I said, links will be down below in my description box. If you want to see some of my other ranking videos, I will leave my playlist up on the screen. And if you're new, I would love it if you would consider subscribing, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.